Yep.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Tuesday afternoon group coaching. I'm Mike, I'm with My Core Intentions, and today we're going to talk about execution. I think that execution becomes one of the most critical points of what we do. We can learn all these strategies, we can learn all the techniques, we can plan, but if we're not decisive in our execution, we kind of sit still. Execution is critical in everything that we do. So here's what I like to ask people. Are you planning or are you just sitting around planning to plan? There's a difference, right? If you're planning your business and you're planning to move forward, who are you sharing that plan with? Who's holding you accountable? And how are they helping you move forward? One example I heard one time was that, are you someone who just sits and talks about going over and opening the door? Or are you somebody who actually will get up and walk over and open the door? I mean, it's just kind of a crazy analogy, right? But it's true. Who are you in your own world? We've created this world in our kids, even where it's okay to come in eighth place, where they just don't have to work hard enough to be first place. And it's okay not to be first place or second place. And I'm not saying that that's the be all to end all, but it really boils down to education or execution. It's like I have mentioned in the past that when I would teach my son's little league team how to catch grounders over and over and over again, it's those basic fundamentals. And how do we execute on those basic fundamentals? This is about knowing yourself and knowing what you're willing to do, what you're willing not to do in your own life, what's negotiable and what's non-negotiable. People use planning sometimes for a cover up for non action. So you have to take a look at your own world, your own business, your own strategies. I was just having this conversation with someone about strategy. We can have great strategies, great systems in place, but if we don't execute properly or effectively on those systems, it doesn't help us to move forward. Webster's dictionary says that the carrying out or putting into effect of a plan, an order, or a course of action. So let's go through this a little bit. I'm going to, over the next several slides, I'm going to give you a bunch of key thoughts, key principles to think about. Right now, I want you to write down five key executive or five key principles to execute at a higher level. And you may notice that I said write it down. You know how big I am on note taking. I always think that note taking is so important for us because we retain so much more when we write it down. It's not even a matter of being able to go back and refer to that, because you can go back and listen to this recording again. But what it comes down to, the ability of being able to retain the information. There's three ways we learn, right? We learn by seeing, we learn by hearing, and we learn by executing. And part of that executing or doing is writing it down. But the first key principle that I want to talk about is strategic planning. I think there's different levels for our planning. We can just say, hey, you know what? I want to accomplish losing 10 pounds by the end of 90 days. But how are you strategically going to plan around doing that? How much weight do you need to lose every week? What exercise plan do you need to put in place? What food plan do you need to put in place in order to do that? It's the same thing in our business. I want to go out and create 10 new sales in the next 30 days. Well, what systems and techniques, what plans do I have to strategically have in place in order to do that? Communication is a big thing. That's the second point, is communication. And who do we need to communicate with around that strategic plan, around every piece that we're putting together? That communication could even just be with yourself, right? And being honest with yourself about where you're at in the process and what needs to be done. How about specific assignments? One of the things that I work with people on coaching is their specific weekly assignment. So, we get near the end of the call, and I'm always going to say, hey, what do we need to get accomplished for next week? Or we've picked some things up during that call that say, you know what, you need to work on this. So I was just on a call with someone, and we were talking about building effective team members on his team. And part of that was we had to design who that specific team member was, and then what the job description was going to be, and then a plan around how to go hire that person. But then you have to go take action, right? We write these plans out. Now it's a matter of going and taking the specific action. And I always like to say that action uh, around accountability, or that includes accountability, helps you be more successful. So whether you're accountable to your coach, me as your coach, someone else as your coach, or just another peer, somebody you know from a networking group or your office, or somebody that you work with, just be accountable to somebody and say, hey, this week I need to make 20 sales calls, or this week I need to make 20 sales, and this is how I'm going to get there. Vision is really important. This becomes clarity, right? Horatio Alger said that it's been said that a man without a vision is like a ship without a rudder. Can you imagine being out in the ocean in a ship that lost its rudder? Where are you going to go? Probably just going to ride the waves, right? In the drift, and going to drift somewhere. Better hope you're going to run into some land, because a ship without a rudder is not going to get you to where you need to go. You need to have that vision and clarity. I talk a lot about clarity. I talk about the piece that, hey, be crystal clear on what you want. You can have a goal to make $1 million, but do you know why? Why do you want to make that? Who are you going to become along the way? What's going to happen when you get it? Are you going to, what are you going to do to give it all away? That's what I always say is, hey, listen, if you're going to go make $1 million, go give it away after you get it. The second one's always easier to make, but it's all in the way that we develop the plan. So it all starts with that clarity, that vision, the ability to direct yourself from there. Then you have to make a decision. That decision is around the vision, right? That decision happens because, hey, I have a clear vision. I have this goal. I am making a decision now to move forward. I'm going to go ahead and start to apply this plan and to build this out. When you know where you're headed, uh, it's easy to go back to the clarity and say, and grab onto that, because that will help drive you forward even further. Passion. I think we all need to have passion. Passion is what helps drive us, right? The clarity is one thing, the action, the decisions, but passion. Be passionate about what you're doing. Are you passionate about your job? It's been said that if you're passionate about what you do, the money will follow, right? That you'll never work a day in your life. And that's how I feel about what I do most of the time, is that I'm so passionate about being able to help somebody else, or give something back, or coach or train, that it's like I don't even work, right? It's like just part of my life. And it's so you have to ask yourself in your own life, what are you passionate about? Because that passion is going to help you drive your business forward. Action is the big piece, right? Action is where we start to step forward. If you fail to execute on ideas and plans, you're gonna plan to fail, really, is what they say. A good idea without execution is worthless. So how do you move forward? Once you develop that business plan and you've got that focus, and you can eliminate some of the distractions or all the distractions around you, stay out of a defensive mode and work offensively. How many of you find that during the day, during the week, during your work day, that you find yourself in a defensive mode? You're battling social media messages that come in, dings on your cell phone, emails that come in, text messages that come in, all of these distractions that are that come into our life that keep us off track, right? That keep us from action. We all know what the most important things are that we need to do in our life to move forward, to increase our business, to drive sales, to drive results, but yet we don't block the time out to specifically take that action in an offensive mood versus being in a defensive mode. How many times will you sit at your desk and the phone dings and you pick the phone up and you look at it? You all of a sudden there's a flash on your computer. It's an email. I did a post the other day on social media that said the shiny object syndrome is a real disease. And I really believe that because I think that it is, because we can all get distracted by something else. I like being able to put my blinders on and stay focused on what I'm doing and move forward. But, I don't want my blinders on so tight that I miss the things around me either. So there's that gentle balance also. But that action helps you to move forward. How do you measure your behavior around your action? If you're taking action and you're moving forward, how do you understand the results? My coach always tells me, he says, the lagging indicator in my action is my bank account. And it's so true, right? Think about that in your own life. You might be taking action, and all of a sudden you get wore out because you're not seeing results, whether it's in the amount of sales, whether it's in the amount of properties you buy, whether it's in the amount of preparation you're doing, or the money in your bank account, right? And so we get tired, right? And we don't want to move, but that's really the lagging indicator. That's where you have to continually take that action. Do you understand the 80-20 principle? The 80-20 principle is that 80% of what we do really equates for 20% of our results. But yet 20% of what we do equates for 80% of our results. So how do you do more of the 20%? How do you increase your results to do so that your action produces more results for you? The other thing that is important is that we track our results. You got to keep score. Every good baseball team knows its batting averages, right? I know that when I was in sales, selling residential real estate, that I tracked all my numbers. You have to track your KPIs in business. Every successful business knows. They know what they need to do to score the next time. They know what they need to do to get back on base. So you have to realize what are the things what are the specific action items that you can take in your own business. And then I go back to accountability. Accountability is that piece that keeps you, I want to say, honest. Not that you're not honest, but I'm just saying that it keeps you honest in what you're doing. That accountability, if I set a plan for myself and I say I'm going to make X amount of contacts, have X amount of sales, and I have to go back to somebody and say, this is my accountability. And the best example I can give is with my coach, right? How many outreaches do I make? How many links do I send out to make appointments with people? How many appointments do I make? And then how many actual calls do I have with people? Those are where the results in the sales process come in for me. So I have to be accountable to my coach on that. Part of this process and part of what we're doing through all of this is building relationships. In the execution process, we are building relationships with people. It goes back to the team building and the networking. And I know I've talked about that in the past, and I actually do a whole lesson on team building and networking. Good relationships keep you accountable, though. So whether you're in a coaching relationship or whether you're in a friendship relationship with somebody, those good relationships keep you accountable. They help you to drive your business forward. Regardless of the business that you're in, you have to build relationships with people around you that are either going to be your clients or they're going to help. They're going to be part of your team. They're going to buy into your goals. They're going to keep you accountable, and they're going to help push you forward. And then there's a relentless persistence. I like the way that sounds, right? Because it's a relentless persistence. I remember when somebody first said to me that, hey, you're very tenacious, Morawski. And I was like, God, thank you. And I didn't know what it meant. And I walked away scratching my head, wondering what that word meant. I went right home, grabbed the dictionary, looked it up, and I said, that is me, because I am persistent and I'm relentless. I had a mantra when I was selling real estate that was, I'm going to follow up with you till you either list or you die, right? So you are either going to list your house with me or somebody else, or you are going to just disappear. So I wanted to make sure that I got the business if you were going to be selling your house. It was the same thing when I was in the property management business, and I was selling third party services. So I would find a client, I did some lead generation, I'd get a email or a text message, and I'd call that client back immediately, and they were like, "Wow, that was fast." Most people don't call back that fast. So our follow-up process, our sales process has to be above anybody else's. There, um, and part of this relentless persistence process is once you start to execute, there's those two things that you really need to continue to do to move you forward. And they're based around communication and how you control things. So it's monitor. So monitor your results, keep track of your numbers, and then communicate. Communicate them back to somebody else. Know the status, know where you are, and what you have to do to stay accountable. What issues come up along the way? How do you reprocess something? How do you rebuild something? What risks do you have to take? And if you're adverse to risks, what can you do differently to go take those risks? How do you push yourself forward? Do we have the tools or the knowledge? Do we have the experience that we need? A lot of times we get stuck and we don't move forward because we don't even know what we need in order to move forward. It could be a system, it could be a strategy, it could be somebody on our team, but you have to take a look at that. So that control and the communication become extremely important. Know what you're doing. Time is another resource. Time is how do we structure our time so that the execution is done properly? And then what's the best use of your time? A lot of times I'll sit at my desk and I'll go, okay, what is the best use of my time right now? Ask yourself that question if you ever feel like you got stuck or you're sitting somewhere, because what you want is you want to be intentional. If you have intentionality about what you're doing, about how you're driving your business tends to grow a little bit more as a result of that. So I hope this has been helpful. I'm going to open this up to the people that are on the call right now for some question and answer. And if anybody online has questions, email me and we'll see if we can get those answered for you. So, hey guys, Nolan or Victoria, any questions, any thoughts or comments? I'm always open to suggestion.
No, nothing specifically off the top of my head, but I agree. I think it's easy for all of us to get busy trying to move a lot of balls, and sometimes we just need to refocus our efforts on a handful of singular items and get those things executed and focus more in on those things. So I agree with your message today.
Yeah, it is true. I think that Nolan, I think a lot of times we work in that defensive mode, right? Like I could sit down at my desk sometimes and just feel overwhelmed. And I think that that's where the planning component comes in too, right? Where you have to strategically with intention is write down, this is what I need to get done today, or this is what I need to get done this week, and how do I move towards that? Because we all get those distractions that come up in our life. So
Real quick, Mike, I wanted to share this. It's like a little decision making sheet. And basically, it says make a decision. And it says dilemma, date, decision needed by. And it kind of just goes through all these different things of like exactly what you're talking about. What needs to be done right now? Because that has been my issue is like, I have 17 messages sitting here. I probably have 40 plus messages sitting here. I don't know how many messages I have in other locations. And I'm just like, I freak out and I put my head in the sand.
Yeah.
So I got these little puppies to help me out and just like take 1 hour and say, okay, I'm going to knock out at least 10 messages, and then it's 10 less than I had before. But thank you for reiterating that, because I think that that's what the world's message for me is this week.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you kind of hit it on the head, and you started to kind of allude to the fact that I think we all have so many platforms, right? A couple email addresses, you got text messaging, maybe you're
Yes.
on WhatsApp, you got Instagram, you've got Twitter, Facebook. There's all of these platforms today. And, I asked somebody one time, I said, where do you do all your emailing from? And they said, just LinkedIn. That's it. If you don't communicate with me through LinkedIn, you're not going to talk with me. And I thought, wow, that's interesting, but that's kind of a off the beaten track, right? I mean, you would really think more email or my email address, but I thought that was kind of interesting, because if you think about it too, and this particular individual, if you think about it, that's where most of their business came from. That's where they did most of their business. And so all their communication was right there on that platform. So I just found that to be kind of interesting. But how many of us can do that? Can you hone in? Victoria, before we started or went live here this afternoon, you and I were talking a little bit about building a team, right? You almost need people around you to help you manage all the messages today.
Yeah.
I want I want to hire somebody just to go through my email every day and delete the garbage, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes. That's 10 minutes. That's 15 minutes. That's 20 minutes. And it's just like 5 more minutes. I'll be done. Five more. Okay. An hour has gone by.
right.
It's like, it's a circle of uselessness, and it's not useless, but it's like, I don't need to, I can hire that out. You know what I mean? That's good use of my time.
Yep. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my other masterminds I'm in, where that was the topic of conversation over this last week, or it was in the module we were going through, about how to find and recruit a assistant of sorts for a nominal fee to help with some of that nonsense stuff. And I was like, that's not a bad idea. And so using things like Upwork and other platforms that are out there that help you find assistants, I think are potentially good opportunities. So something to consider in the future.
Yeah. I actually have been looking for a while, so I have a couple of different resources that I've been researching. So if you two need to find BAs, let me know, and I'll connect you with the people that I know that do
Okay.
that.
What? Yeah. So tell me, what kind of resources do you have?
So I have two friends. One's from the Philippines. The other one I think is from Canada, but I'd have to confirm that. But they actually launched their own VA business because they saw the need that they had in their own businesses. One girl was running a laundry business
Hmm.
and found that most of the people that were coming to the dry cleaner where she was at were people who needed help managing, like small business owners that needed to maximize their time. So she started having her friends help her, and she trained up a bunch of people to just check emails,
Okay.
to check your social media, to do all these things. And it's like $6 an hour. So I'm like, yes.
Wow, that's
Um,
interesting.
yeah, so I'm still kind of feeling it out. One has like um a breakdown of cost and like a proper contract and things of that sort, and the other is still small business herself, does not have a contract and things of that sort. So I'm trying to figure out, I think I would prefer the contract.
Hmm.
But yeah, so there's a couple different variables there that I'm still working on.
Interesting. Yeah, I would like to. I'm interviewing right now, so I had somebody
Oh,
for a
awesome.
while. So yeah, so if you know someone, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send that information over to you via email. Actually, Nolan, I have your email, but can you just say it to me can you put it in the chat maybe?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
awesome.
No
Thank
problem.
you. I'm sorry I didn't reach out before.
Oh, it's all good.
Speaking of
get
not
busy.
getting back to messages.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm actually looking through. I'm going to find my note here real quick because there was 3 sources. One of them I know was Upwork, but there was 2 other ones that I thought were good that I had not heard of prior, and I know I have it sitting in my notes. I just got to find it. Was it module 2?
Hey, what do you guys see on the screen right now?
Relentless
You and
persistence.
PowerPoint.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering.
Do you have any like tracker sheets that you use, Mike, for like analytics on social media by chance?
No, not for any analytics on social media. No.
I need to
I
figure
have a
that out
KPI
too.
spreadsheet.
What's that?
It's pretty basic. It just kind of tracks. I haven't even started using it. It just basically it's a track the number of podcast downloads, dollars committed, stuff. It's again related to the seller thing I'm in, but it's just a simple way to kind of track stuff. I haven't started using it yet. Haven't had a reason to, but it's just one way of doing things.
Could you share that with me? Would that be okay?
Oh yeah, no problem. There's
That'd be
nothing super
awesome.
special about it.
I'm trying to figure it out, and I'm like, there's too many elements to this. I don't know, like,
Hey, you
I don't know.
could probably reach out to Joel. You know who Joel is, right?
Joel? I don't think so.
He's my marketing guy.
Oh, okay.
I've just put his email in the chat. But if you send him an email and just tell him, you a coaching client of mine, he knows who you are.
Oh, okay, great.
And just say, hey, he might have something. Matter of fact, I'm sure he does. So, because that's what that's his whole space. So,
Awesome. Oh my gosh, that'd be great. Yeah, because what you were saying earlier about just responding to LinkedIn, as you were saying it, I'm thinking to myself, like, I have so many different places where I do talk with people, but it keeps me from talking with people.
sure. Yep.
So I'm like, well, if I did minimize and just have the one, that would actually probably increase my productivity.
Right.
So because I don't know how to read all the analytics, but I guess you would want to know which platform is actually serving you sales. Like Facebook, I have a lot of followers and things of that sort, but not a lot of purchases. Instagram, I get purchases. So, but I have like not very many followers. So it's very strange to me how it all works. And it seems to change every week.
Right. Right.
I put a couple things in the chat. The first one was the source for the looking for remote workers, or at least Upwork is used as remote workers, but more specifically time, etc., and Belay are the 2 that are more on the focus of administrative assistant or EA, or yeah. And then the other thing I thought was interesting, that was a good idea, and I thought was good. I think the one that they recommend using is Loom. Is they'll you start, like, if you have a particular process of how you would want something done, right? You do a video where you're recording it with audio and looking at your screen, right? And showing them, okay, this is what I'm looking for you to do, either on an ongoing basis or a one-off basis. And you just make a quick, 2-minute video, whatever, of actually doing the task. And then you can just kind of hand it off for them to kind of finish the rest of it.
Yeah. So this is something that I'm learning too. Like they all have their specialties. So some VAs will just check email. Some VAs will just check social media. Some VAs will, it's just, it's a big market now that didn't exist before, but people weren't doing business in this fashion either. So it's just a big learning curve for us, you know.
Yeah. So one of the things that I do is just to minimize the number of apps people are in, right? Even from a remote standpoint, when I have had VAs calling on things for me. So what I did is I have everything going into HubSpot. If I did it over again, I probably would have done it through a different platform, but HubSpot or any of those top CRM platforms, because you can have all your email flow in and out right through it'll tag it directly to the contact, right? So all of your everything related to everybody you talk to goes into your CRM, from a phone call standpoint to email communication to text communication, all can land in one spot if you set it up right. I haven't quite got the text part figured out, but I've got most of everything else in there, and to me that's a lot easier because I can because if I make a note, whether I search by a name of a contact or I say search by a subject, right? So let's say I search by a property. Well, if I type that property name in as a note into multiple contacts, it'll list all the contacts that I talk to. So it makes it super easy to search, that subject matter, versus trying to troll through, hundreds of emails or whatever.
You know what? On that note, I am using contact mapping now. And that is awesome for that because basically what you do is you create hashtags. So every time you meet somebody, you go into your app, your contact mapping app, and you say, okay, I spoke with this person on this day. And then you hashtag, like, let's say it's your church, right?
Yep.
And you hashtag your church. And then you hashtag, like, if you had a specific email or conversation with this individual, you can say, discussing plumbing or whatever, or just plumbing.
Sure.
And you can organize everything that way so you don't have to go through all those emails. I just started doing that, and that has been really super helpful. It's been about 4 months now, actually, and that's been really super helpful.
Okay.
And I have a link, actually. I'll send you a link for that.
Cool. Yeah, if
I'd
done it over, I would have done I can't remember there's so many CRM platforms out there, but there's another one I would have probably gone on to just based on where I am now. I've been, because I had VAs, I already just set up a VA in HubSpot because you can set up, free users for just access to information and inputting data information. So it didn't even require a license for the majority of the VAs that I had working for us. So it was nice from that standpoint.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they can, because they can do their call dials from there and all their, calling on stuff. So all the calls were automatically recorded. So, and I actually set it up too. So if they were actually connected, right? If they actually marked the box that said they actually were connected and talked to somebody, I would actually have it create a task for me to go review it so that I could figure out if there was an action item there or not, because you don't always know. Otherwise, if they were just getting voicemail, I can care less, right? I'm just looking for the connections.
Oh, very cool. Oh,
good information.
Yeah, it is. What resource was that?
This is Walter. I was doing this through HubSpot.
HubSpot. Oh, okay. That's the one you were talking about earlier. And then you also mentioned Loom, right?
Loom is a recording app for recording a task on your screen.
Oh, you know what? I've heard somebody else talk about that. This is the second time I've heard about this. Okay. I'm going to have to check that one out too. Awesome. Thank you, Nolan. That's awesome. That's very helpful.
Yeah.
Adding value wherever I can.
It's one thing we like about Nolan.
Yeah.
Nolan's always adding value. All right, guys, anything else?
Nope. I'll try to think of what that other CRM is that I'd probably recommend going to over HubSpot.
HubSpot is like the best free one out there right now. There was for a while, isn't it?
And it's not free no more.
Oh, it's not? Okay, yeah. That's why I said, for a while it was. But I use
Yeah, it's
Zoho.
very, I mean, it's very, very basic. I guess there is a free version you can use, and there's some very basic things you can do with it, you know, but it's a feeder system to get you to upgrade and do when you want to do more things, you'll get stuck in it, you know,
Yeah.
like I did. And I'm only looking at switching primarily because the space I'm in now, it's a better fit with this other CRM tool, and I just can't think of what the name of it is off the top of my head. I guarantee if I Googled CRM, it'd be the first one that popped up.
What are you looking to switch to?
That's what I'm looking right now. I'm just looking for the name. I just can't think of it off the top of my head right now.
I use Zoho.
How do you
Yep.
spell
And
that?
I tried Zoho, and it was so cumbersome to set up for what I was trying to do. I was like, oh my God, I want to. I was like, I was going to end up hiring an expert to create some custom stuff. I'm like, yeah, this kind of defeats the purpose of a software as a service model.
Right. No, you're right. So, all right, everybody, we'll be back here next Thursday as usual. Everybody have a great week. If you need anything, you can reach me during the week, email me, and I will get back to you as soon as I can.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much.
You bet, guys. Have a
See
great
you later.
week.
Have a
Thanks.
good one.